Hi everyone, my name is Meshal, and today I will talk about rhetorical analysis of Martin Luther King Jr., letter from uh, Bir- Birmingham jail. So let's start with the next slide. So Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the most important leaders for human rights in the 20th century. After the Montgomery bus boycott, he became a symbol of peace in the US. He helped start the Second Christian Leadership Conferences in 1957, which brought together groups in the South. He led peaceful protests in Washington, D.C. and Birmingham for to fight for justice. Because of his work, the Civil Rights Act 1964, and the Voting Rights Act 1965 were passed. He was killed in 1968, but his ideas and actions still inspire people today. In April 1963, King was put in a jail in Birmingham for leading peaceful protests against racism. While in jail, he wrote a very powerful letter about civil rights. This letter is called Letter from Birmingham Jail. Some white pastors in Alabama said King's actions were unwise and untimely. In the letter, King defended the protest and explained why people can't wait for justice anymore. He showed how to tell the difference between fair and unfair laws. He used logic, emotions, and morality to convince people that everyone should be treated equally. So let's move on to the next one. So in his letter, King used argument and emotional appeals. Let's understand these ideas with help from Herrick's definitions. Herrick says an argument is public reasoning to influences others on page 13. He also says an appeal is a strategy to create emotions or connect with the audience's beliefs on page 13 also. So let's move on to the next slide. In the letter, King clearly talks about moral and unfair laws. He says on page 346, I would agree with Saint Augustine that an unjust law is no law at all. Any law that uplifts human personality is just any law that degrees human personality is unjust. This means he used the idea of natural law to show the difference between good and bad laws. He also says we know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressor on page 345. This is mean people must fight for justice, not wait for it. He showed that civil disobedience is not wrong. It's both logical and moral. So let's move on to the next slide. So King used emotional appeals to show pain, speak about morality, and defend his beliefs. He used pathos emotions to help people feel the injustice. He says, when you simply find your tongue twisted trying to explain to your 6 years old daughter why she can't go to the amusement park and see tears in her eyes on page 345. This is show how racism affects innocent children. It makes the audience, even white pastors, feel the pain and unfairnesses. So let's move on to the next slide. King also talks about moral justice. He says, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, on page 343. This is mean if people stay silent, they are allowing injustice to grow. And his appeals to logic and morality by telling real stories and connecting to shared values. So let's move on to the next slide. King's letter is full of human motives, especially moral values that help people fight injustice. Herrick says human motives have a moral quality. There are good and bad motives on page 10. King says on page 343, I am in Birmingham because injustice is here. This means we should fight injustice wherever. It's not just in our hometown. He also says on page 349, a priest people cannot remain a priest forever. The urge for freedom will eventually come. This shows that he believes change will happen and people must be ready to accept it. He is hopeful and has strong vision for the future. So let's move on to the next slide. So in this slide, as you see this picture, the main source of this presentation is a visual poster of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail. This poster shows Dr. King writing a letter while in jail. It shows how speech had a strong social power in American history. Even in jail, King showed independent thinking and strong beliefs. There is a quote in the background from page 348. It says, now is the time to lift our national policy from the quicksand of racial injustice of the soul, rock of human dignity. Here, King uses two metaphors. The first one, quicksand of racial injustice, means racism is dangerous and traps society. And on the solid rock of human dignity means fairness, strength, and respect for all people. This image helps how to show the difference between a broken system and a better, just society. So here is my reference, and thank you for watching my presentation.